We are checking connection and Facebook says we are live, we are ready, and we are back. 1 o'clock on a Friday. That means one thing and one thing only. What does it mean?
It's Crucible TV time, baby!
It's Crucible TV time, and we are so fired up, as always. You know we're always fired up. This is one of my favorite parts of the week, Jesse. One of my favorite parts because it gives us a chance to connect with you, but it also gives us an opportunity, just another opportunity to pour out some love, pour out some energy, and to help give you that competitive edge that you're looking for. We're always looking for edges, right? And it gets easy when it's like, okay, I'm going to the gym and it's like, oh, boom, we get to lift, or we get to get our biceps going, or we get to whatever it is. But so often we neglect the mindset. We neglect the mindset, and that is so much of what we care about, probably most, because life is the decisions you make. And we got to make sure that we're pouring out and we're pouring in as much into the mindset, so that way we can pour out the good stuff. So Maldonado, we see you. Danielle, Kelsey, we see you guys. Thanks so much for hopping on. We are excited that you are here. So before we get started, what do you think about Coach Jesse's t-shirt right there? What do you think about that shirt? What do you think about this? That's
Can I tell you what I think about it?
Tell me something.
I'm digging it.
Digging
my shirt, guys.
Digging the new swag. We got the new swag coming in. If you haven't checked already, if you haven't grabbed yours already, please be sure. Go online. We got the link on the Facebook profile. We have the link in the Crucible Instagram profile. Be sure. Go on there. Grab yourself some swag. I mean, I've got to wear a medium to make mine look like his large, but that's besides the point. Like I've got mediums here, large is here, but you know what? We're looking good regardless. Guaranteed to increase bicep size by 212%. And you know I need all the help I can get. What do you think going on, Coach Brian? Let's go. We got Gorilla Mike in the house. We got the crew in the house.
We got Maldonado on.
So what we're going over today, you know we're in our series, that one big thing where we're diving into books. We're diving into that mindset. And we're bringing you the one big thing that we've taken from these books, because we know y'all don't like reading.
Readers are leaders.
But we know y'all don't like to do it. Like we get it.
So we're coming at you.
You know what? We're gonna come at you. We're gonna do the hard work for you. We'll do all the reading, and then we're gonna bring you that one big idea, that one big thing, so that way you can still learn. You can still be getting that mind right. So today we're in episode, what is this, 5? I think it's 5. Be sure to go check out all the other ones. Episode 5, and this is one of my favorite books of all time. One of my favorite books of all time. It is a must read. I try to read it once a year. Because it is such a book that it'll hit us all. So the book is called The Fear Bubble by a guy named Ant Middleton. Fear Bubble by Ant Middleton. Write it down, grab a copy, be sure to get a copy of it. And right off the bat, right on the cover, it talks about harnessing fear and living life without limits. Okay, let's first ask, how many of us feel fear ever in our life? Yep, all of us. All your hands are raised.
Everyone has it.
How many of us put limits on our life, or how many of us allow fear to put that limit on our life?
Boom.
All of us. We've all done it at some point. And this whole idea, the whole idea behind this book is, how do we get rid of that fear? Or how do we not even just get rid of it? How do we harness the fear? How do we harness that and control it to propel us forward rather than enabling, or like instead of preventing us from going forward and immobilizing us, right? So Ant Middleton, he was a British SBS, I think he was, I don't think he was an officer, but he was in the SBS. He was a bad dude. He was in the special forces of the British Special Forces. He was in the Royal Marines. Like, he was a bad mamma jamma. He was the point guy. When you would go on a mission, right? When you go on a mission, he was the first man in, right? He's actually got another book called First Man In. He was the first man in. So we're all coming in. We get to a site, and we're getting ready to knock down a door. He was the first guy in, meaning the first guy that's going to get shot, right? He's the first one coming in there, seeing what all's going on.
Putting it all on the line.
He's putting it on the line, and he's the first man in. It takes a very special person to be able to do that. And this is what the book is all about. And this is what my one big thing is he would talk about when he was not vacation, but when he was between deployments. When he was between deployments, while he was there on deployment, he was basically in what he called this one big fear bubble, right? He was just in the middle of all the riffraff. There was constant violence. There was constant stuff going on. Maybe you can relate to that. You've got constant stuff going on. There's constantly fear controlling your life. And he would get to the end of his deployment, and he'd be back home with his family, and it was like, I can breathe again. I can breathe again. But as his next deployment started coming up, he said he started feeling this. He started feeling this kind of anxiety, this fear, knowing what he's going back into. He's going back into the fray. He's going back into the firefight. He's going back into that nasty stuff, right? And he would often thought about, like, why am I feeling this way? I love what I do. I love my job. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I allowing this fear to control me? And he would talk about this. This ended up getting guys killed. He would talk about so many of guys would turn to alcohol and drugs and are still suffering from severe, like the mental side of things being just still holding on to them after years of dealing with this, right? And he said, I don't want that to be me. I can't live in constant fear. And he actually makes a point. He said, when I'm actually on my base, right, I'm probably in the safest place in the world. Like, I'm around a bunch of other military guys. We've got all the guns and all the everything that we could ever need. Like, why should I be in fear here? Why should I be in fear here? I'm in the safest bubble I could probably ever be in. So we started coming up with this idea, and this is where my one big thing comes in. My one big takeaway, my one big idea that I want you to have is realizing, and I want to get this right, I wrote it down, that fear is just a place. Fear is just a time, and you get to choose when you go into it. So he would talk about this. He would go on a mission, right? And he would realize as we're sneaking up, they would parachute in the backwoods of who knows where, and they would sneak up. They would sneak up to these buildings and sneak up to the door. And he's like, I don't need to be fearful right now because the people on the inside don't know that I'm here. They don't know. So I don't need to be fearful because there's no danger yet. There's no danger. I haven't stepped into the fear bubble. And he would talk about visually seeing in his mind a bubble. And he said that's where the fear lived. That's where the danger was. And I could stand outside of it. Maybe it's outside of the door. He's the point man. He's getting ready to go in. I could stand outside of this bubble. And I don't need to be afraid. I'm in control. Nobody knows I'm here. But then I could choose when I stepped into that bubble. And when I stepped into that bubble, I got to be 100% committed to executing my craft. Whatever that craft was, whatever that thing was, boom, I execute. Now for him, it was, I'm going to step into this fear bubble. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to find my target. I'm going to shoot them. They die. And then he said the bubble would burst because the threat wasn't there. And then he would look to go find his next bubble of fear. So again, he's back in control. He doesn't need to maintain and stay in fear this whole time because the threat was neutralized. So then he's going to go and find the next bubble of fear, the next door, the next target, gather, step into the bubble, execute at 100%, take care of it, and then right back out of the bubble. It was an idea. He didn't have to live in fear. So for me, that was a very big aha moment because I think so many of us, maybe it's a stress of finances or stress of just what's going on in the world or whatever. We might live in a constant state of fear. Maybe we're really afraid. I've got a really hard conversation I've got to have with Jesse. And I'm stressing over it. I'm fearful for how Jesse's going to respond. So instead, I'm just going to like deal with it. Versus, I've got a conversation I've got to have with him.
Step in your fear bubble. Go on.
And I don't have to worry about it until the conversation's there. I don't need to be fearful. All I'm going to do is prepare. I'm going to have the conversation. I'm going to step into the fear bubble. Boom. Have the conversation. Execute. Handle it. And be out. Maybe it's finances. Maybe it's that hard conversation with a spouse. Maybe it's a test that you're taking in school.
Maybe it's a big game you got.
Maybe it's a big game you got. You don't have to be fearful of it.
I know I've had butterflies.
Yeah. But what do? We choose when we step into that fear bubble. When we are ready, that is when we step in. Because we can't live in constant fear. We can't live in that constant state of anxiety. That's not going to be a good way for us to perform or to excel like we're wanting to.
Or just experience joy in life too, if you're in a constant state of fear.
Absolutely. So he started breaking up these bubbles into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller events. Initially it was, I'm away at work, and it was just this huge bubble that he tried to live in, and he's like, I just can't do it. And then they slowly got, well, maybe when I just go on a mission. Well, I can't be in the fear bubble the whole time in the mission because I got to think clearly, right? And then he started shrinking it down until it was a bunch of just small little series of bubbles, right? We landed, don't need to be afraid, they don't know we're here. Boom, small bubble, I'm gonna go knock down that door. Boom, step into it, execute, done, next, right? So that was my one big takeaway. How do I operate life? How do I move from maybe bubble to bubble? Instead of operating out of fear in the macro, I'm gonna turn all the little things. I don't wanna deal with finances, okay. I'm gonna set them over there. I'm gonna focus on that fear bubble. I'm gonna attack it, execute 100%, and I'm back out. Boom.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he say he kind of like, once when he would go through one fear bubble, he'd get fired up, he'd get a little bit more fired up to go into the next fear bubble.
It carried him forward. He talked about it being like a wild stallion, just saddling up and taking him forward.
It was almost a little bit of an adrenaline rush for him too. 100%. Every single time he stepped into a fear bubble, he gained more confidence stepping into those fear bubbles, knowing that he didn't have to be in this constant state of fear. He can pick and choose when he steps into it.
Yeah. So what was your one big thing, Jesse?
My biggest thing was the final chapter. It's called The Opposite of Fear. And if you were to look up the opposite of fear on your phone or your computer, your Mac, whatever it may be, it'll say courage, which is incredible. I love it. I love courage. I love it. That's amazing. That's a great trait. But Ant gave the opposite of fear is growth. And to me, I was like, what are the things that we really fear? Failure, change, overwhelming things, right? But we talk about growth and growing. When do you grow? So you grow when you do fail. If you take something from it, you can get better. You grow when you do change. You know, if we're having this same conversation a year from now and I'm the exact same, I'm doing something wrong. So we need to change. But that's the thing we're afraid of. Sometimes overwhelming things, those big things, right? Those fear bubbles, those can be pivotal moments in our lives that we don't want to miss out on, that can help take our lives to the next level if we choose to respond the right way to it. So that big thing of the opposite of fear is growth, to me, I thought was really cool, because it's like, if I choose to just kind of, you know, I can choose to commit to up, or I can choose to commit to down. And if I choose to commit to down, I'm committing to fear, and I'm letting it immobilize me. But if I can figure out that way to commit to up and commit to growing, then the same things that can scare you or can actually help you level up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Avery, I see you hopping on, and what Mike's saying exactly there. Growth, conquering fear. You don't just go through it, you grow through it. And let me read a quote. I wrote this down. I love that y'all said this because I didn't cover this earlier. Ant Middleton said this in his book: without fear, there is no challenge. Without challenge, there is no growth. And without growth, there is no life. Think about that. Without fear, there's no challenge. And I've heard this really cool saying one time. It was something like, cherish the challenge. It was something like that. It was called Cherish the Challenge, right? We talk about that all the time, right? The idea of being excited about the challenges, right?
Right there on a t-shirt or something.
Right? Something like it'd be great on a t-shirt. Boom, there it is. Cherish the challenge. We talk about this all the time. Why do we want to cherish the challenge? Why do we want to get excited about the challenges? Why do we want to get excited about the things that we're fearful about? Well, without the fear, there's no challenge. Without the challenge, there's no growth. And without the growth, there is no life. Now, I know you all were designed for greatness. You all have big goals. Big goals. If you're on this right now, you have big goals in life. You're not just settling for average. You're not settling for the status quo. You're not settling. Right? You refuse to settle. That's why you're on this, because you're trying to get. That's why you're trying to get better. Fear. instead of it being a thing that says, "Ooh, I need to go the opposite way," what we're learning from this is maybe that's where I need to go. Oh, I'm a little afraid of that. Maybe that's actually the blinking light that says, over here, come on over here, right? Because without that fear, there's no challenge. Without challenge, there's no growth. Without growth, there is no life. And then you're not accomplishing your goals. You're not accomplishing the things that you really want to make happen, whether it's making a better team or, I'm afraid, I don't want to train in season because I'm afraid I'm going to be sore. What? You better train in season. I don't want to have that hard conversation because I'm afraid of, you better have that hard conversation, right? I'm afraid to expand because you better do that expanding. Whatever that fear is, maybe, just maybe, that's the bubble you need to step into and you need to start attacking because that's where the growth happens. That's where the life happens.
That's amazing.
Whoo, we getting fired up today. We're getting so fired up today. Yep. If y'all are just tuning in right now, you got to just rewatch this final 5 minutes of this. This was on fire. Let me tell you that. Mike's saying trying to get conquering her fears. Absolutely. Absolutely. Get hyped about conquering your fears. Because, let me say it one more time. Without fear, there is no challenge. Without challenge, there is no growth. Without growth, there is no life. Whew! That hits. That hits. And it just further gets me so amped up to wear Cherish, the challenge on my wrist, on my shirt. Because it's through that fear that we are growing. It's through that challenge that we are growing. That's when you're refined. That's when you're getting better. So, I don't know if you can tell, I like this book. I like this thought. And you know what? Absolutely. And I think you will too. So be sure, if you got a book, if you haven't gotten any of the other books, grab this book. Kelsey, I see you. Kelsey, grab this book. Read it. It gets a little vulgar sometimes, not gonna lie, but hey, it's a special forces military guy. It's gonna happen. But guess what? I'm sure it's nothing you ain't ever heard before. But guys, I'm a little out of breath because I'm fired up. But guys, this got me fired up to finish strong on this Friday. So be sure. Let us know in the comments. Watch all the YouTube, so whatever it is. Be sure. Let us know your biggest takeaway. Heck, reach out to us via Instagram or whatever. Let us know your biggest fear. Let us know what your biggest fear is so that way we can try and help. So that way we can help and we can walk alongside you on that because maybe that fear is the very thing you need to start running to grow and get that life that you designed to have, to help make those dreams happen that you've been dreaming your entire life, but you know what? They're just always seem to be out of reach. Well, maybe it's because we haven't been running to the fear. Maybe we've been going the opposite way, like Jesse said. Maybe we've been going the opposite way with fear. Maybe we need to start running towards that fear bubble, go all in, 100%, execute, and then next.
Let's go. Let's step into some fear bubbles.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Guys, we love you. It's Friday at 1:20. We went a little overtime. We went a little extra today because we got a little fired up. But guys, we love you. We appreciate you being on Crucible TV, 1 o'clock. We'll be back next week with a brand new book coming with more energy, more big ideas. And guys, be sure, like you said, grab some swag. Grab some swag. The link's in our profile. Brand new. Get your mind right. Guaranteed to grow your biceps by 212%. Boom!
100% guaranteed to grow the biceps by 212%.
Crazy. Let's go. Guys, we love y'all. Have an amazing day. Go step into some fear bubbles today. God bless y'all. Have a good one.
Love you, team.